Good morning, everybody. It's 11:30 Pacific time, straight up. And I know I don't sound or look like Brent today. That's because Brent has gotten tied up and some stuff going on. I think he's having a nice cold beverage on the beach somewhere. I'm sure he's working hard, but he was unable to be here today, so he called on me, and I'm more than happy to help. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Marguerite Crespillo, and I joined EXP I think the week after Brent did. I was one of the first people he called, so I'm honored to always step in and help and work with him. And I'm excited to have you guys all join us today for the North American Leadership Series. Brent does this every single Monday at 11:30 Pacific Standard Time. So it's a can't miss class, and I'm glad that you guys have all joined us today because I'm very excited to introduce you to our very special guest today. Mike, I'm going to let you say your last name. How do you say your last name?
It's missing a few vowels, but it's Mike Grbic.
Grbic, all right. Well,
Yep.
Mine, I took all the vowels for you. I have 19 letters in my name, so.
Wow, that's impressive. You could spare one, can't you?
I can spare a vowel or two, yes, exactly. So I'm excited to be here with you today. You are just quite the beast. We were chatting a little bit, and you have done a ton of stuff in your life and career, but you're now living in Puerto Rico. That sounds like that was a lifelong dream of you and your wife, Jamie, right?
Yeah, we actually had our honeymoon here in Puerto Rico in 2010 and only dreamed of the day when we could actually have a second home here or maybe retire here to Puerto Rico or somewhere in the Caribbean, and we just fell in love with it. And of course, the tax situation doesn't hurt. So.
Yeah, that's what I hear. A lot of our leaders are headed that way, it sounds like, to save a little money on taxes.
Yep.
And you came from Kansas, right? Which I got a message this morning from Leslie from Kansas, and she says there's snow on the ground. So that might have helped encourage you to move to Puerto Rico, huh?
Oh, yeah. I actually flew back here on Saturday, and it was 40 degrees when I got on the plane.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so in the winter it gets down to a blistering, chilly, 71. So
in Puerto Rico, there,
in Puerto Rico,
we're all jealous. Although I live in Northern California, so it's not too bad here right now. But it's still cold. I actually had to turn the heater on this morning for the first time. So I'm excited to have you here. You've had quite an amazing career. From what I understand, you used to be part of an independent brokerage with 6 offices, right? And how many agents did you have?
Yeah, we grew it over about a 15-year period. Basically, over about a 15-year period, went from solo agent in a corner cubicle at a local independent shop to Coldwell Banker franchise to, being a top team in the state of Kansas to going independent with my team model and then expanding that team model. I mean, obviously, we started with just the Wichita, Kansas market, and then eventually grew that to 6 total offices, 70 agents, and about 20 or so office staff. It was quite an operation. So.
And then you made the decision to sell that, right? Well, that was part of kind of retiring or moving on to Puerto Rico. You decided to get out of that model, got a little burned out.
Well, I don't think real estate teams, at least how they've been, designed over the years, are really conducive to absentee ownership.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
If for whatever reason you're at a point in your life when you want to do something different, or open a new chapter, it's really hard to do if you own a real estate office. When the leader leaves, sometimes the people leave. So I had to build a great team, great leaders. Great support system in place, but even so, that was more for the transition plan to be able to sell the brokerage than the hopes of being able to operate it remotely.
Yeah, I used to own a brokerage as well. We had about 120 agents and 3 offices here in Northern California. And the stress of it is just too much, and being able to have that flexible schedule and going where you living in Puerto Rico would have not been an option when we got brokerage. So, I have an agent who now is looking at moving from California to Tennessee, and she's like, well, I'm going to fly back and forth every month to run my team. I said, well, why don't you just build your revenue share organization and you won't have to do that, right?
Exactly.
So tell us how you learned about EXP and what you thought.
Oh gosh, that's a great lead in. So I saw EXP in 2016 when a guy by the name of Rob Flick was in Wichita, Kansas, and he met me at a Starbucks on a Saturday morning with me in a sweats and a hoodie. And I think EXP had about 1,600 agents at the time. It was, not on anybody's radar, although I was kind of starting to pay attention to it. I don't think it wasn't on most people's radar yet. And
right.
Here's the thing: I didn't really get it. I thought there were some really cool aspects to it, but here I was, running a very large operation, 70 agents, 20 office staff, multiple locations, bricks and mortar, and I don't understand how this is going to fit for me. Like, no one had really proven that out, or at least shown how a independent brokerage or a team could take, of that size, could take and just up and move it on top of the platform. And I don't think it was really something I could grasp. And I'm kicking myself now because now Rob is one of the people down here in Puerto Rico with us. So fast forward 4 years. So, but that was the first
thing, because when I first saw it, I kind of for a minute thought about that virtual thing as well. But luckily we were able to see it. And then when we had all this pandemic, man, we were built for it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just did at the time. It just either the timing wasn't right. I can tell you my gate was certainly closed. I wasn't open-minded. I mean, I was always curious and looking at things and studying things, but it's I was trying to glean great ideas from other people so I could make them my own. Make it part of my thing, not fold into someone else's. So yeah, it was an interesting time for me, and then just not being able to see how that brokerage would fit in that and what that exit would look like. I ended up just going a different direction, and so.
And so then, when did you actually make the decision to join? And if Adam Bailey brought you on, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, Adam was my old business partner, and for the better part of a year that he was in, he kept showing me his monthly rev share checks, and they were small at the time, but they were growing, and I'm like, oh, that's curious. That's interesting. And then they started getting a little bit bigger, and I'm like, okay, well, good for you, man. I'm glad it's working out. I didn't know how I would see myself in the model yet. I mean, I was doing coaching. I was happy doing that. And funny story, I was actually living down here in a place called Palmas del Mar, Puerto Rico, and it was in May of 2019. Gene Frederick moved down here, and Adam gets Gene on the line and says, "Hey, I want you to talk to Mike. You need to talk to him. Get a fire lit under him." So I spent a little bit of time with Gene, and he really kind of helped me understand it at a different level, and of course see what was really possible. So I'm grateful for that opportunity and just the leadership that we have at the company. Brent and Rob and Gene and Jeff Willems, and even my old partner Adam Bailey. He was funny story. He was my first ISA, and then I groomed him into being a lead agent, and then a sales manager, and then eventually running the brokerage and being a partner with me. And eternally grateful. He and I are great friends and have a lot of respect for him. So he, fast forward to 2019, summer of 2019, he returned the favor and helped me with this opportunity. So
yeah,
I wouldn't have partnered with anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. What a blessing. Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about so how has that journey been? So you've been with EXP now, how long, 2 years?
Right. Well, it was July of 2019. So it's what, 15 months?
Yeah,
15, 16 months, something like
that. Okay, so in that 15, 16 months, how many people have you personally spoken to and sponsored?
Sponsored 26, not all of them obviously are FOQAs, but 26 personals. I got a handful of them that are actually in the join process, so that'll be probably 30 by the end of the week. But But yeah.
Here's the part that I love the most. How many have that 30 agents? Now you only talk to 30. So you have 30 agents that have joined under you, but that has turned in how many?
321 as of this morning that are actually active.
I mean, I just love that part. Like 320. So you've only spoken to, 30 agents, which can be a lot for some, but isn't that many, overall. I mean, that's basically what, 2 a month approximately, maybe you've had join.
Yeah, but and that's the beauty and the genius of this model is it's exponential.
Yeah.
Like when you realize that your activities are not linear, but they're exponential, it's a whole different ball game. Like it took me 15 years to build a team, a company of basically 70 agents. And it wasn't passive income by any means, but it was leveraged income. And we did very well, but 15 years to get to 70 agents. And now I have like literally true passive income opportunity with 321 agents in 15 months. That blows my mind.
Me too, because I've been 27 years in real estate, and for 22 of those we had our own brokerage, and it took us 22 years to get to 120 agents. And you get a few, lose a few, get a few, lose a few, right? All this kind of stuff. But the thing that I love most too is when I had that brokerage of those agents, I could only really recruit agents in my own backyard. I could only attract agents that were within maybe a 50 or 75 mile radius of where our offices were, right? And now you have agents, 321 of them, all over the world, right? I mean, that is just so amazing. That's what I'm constantly blown away with by this model.
Well, yeah, and I think we can, as leaders within the company, we can help add value into the lives and businesses of the agents in our organization. And Gene told me, he said, look, just think of it like you're running a real estate company still, like help build people, right? Just go out there and help people sell more real estate. And so we've got people all over the U.S. and Canada, soon to be other countries, and really blessed. But we get to show up every day and help people sell more houses, help them grow their stock, help them grow their passive and residual income. And I think it's a hell of an opportunity.
That's what I love is that we all have a vested interest in each other's success, right?
Yeah, there's financial alignment for sure.
No other brokerage is like that, really. No, there's not that opportunity. And oh my goodness, let's talk about that stock for a minute. I mean, I know it's down a little bit right now, but it's still, when I joined the company 4 years ago, the stock was trading at $2 a share. and now, it's up over $41 a share. I mean, I know it's gone as high as 60 and something, but I mean, every day I'm so incredibly grateful for that stock. Like, I could pay off my mortgage at this point with the value of the stock from Icon and everything that we've been able to do. So that's another game changer. I know I was talking to Rob, and he said, I never even really thought much about the stock. I was very focused on the revenue share. And he said, so that, stock, like what it's done, has been a quite a pleasant surprise.
Oh, absolutely. And you think about it, like very, very few people can ever, even if you owned part of the office that you work at, what's the marketplace that you can sell that? Like where is that? How do you know what the value is? Right? If it's worth anything, which likely they aren't, I mean, there's really no marketplace to sell a brokerage or sell a team or sell a stake in a team. It's just, it doesn't exist. So that's the beauty of EXP is you're building true tangible value that has a marketplace. We're traded on NASDAQ. We know the value.
Well,
it's real.
I definitely have to tell you, because when we looked at, we ended up closing down our brokerage because there was not really an option to sell it that made any sense.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the misnomer that many small independent brokerages or independent brokerages overall, they think, well, I'll be able to sell this for a bunch of money and retire. And, for most brokerages, there's no value without the leader. And once you take the leader out of it, or the owner of the brokerage, who are usually also producing brokers, right?
Yep.
And you take their value out of it, there's not a whole lot of value there at all. And that's really the tragedy, I think, for many people who kind of falsely decide to build this brokerage that they think is going to be their retirement or worth something someday.
Yeah, I think all of us kind of go down that path at one time or another. You know, we're a successful agent. We start building a team. You know, then we realize we're giving up a piece of the pie that we can probably recapture, and then maybe make money off of all these people who left our team. And you know, we go down that road, but the exit strategy just isn't there. Like for 99.9% of the brokerages out there, it's just not worth it. You know, because you're going to get anywhere from 1 to 3 times EBITDA. So if you're profitable at all, you know, you're going to make, you know, some money, but they're basically able to pay you back with your own future profits for the next 2 years. You know, it's hardly worth it for most people. So like, I see this as like the perfect platform for real estate agents to build and launch their careers. As well as teams to grow and scale, not just locally, but nationally. There's not a toll gate every state you go into, every town you go into. There's not a new cap and a new, you know, office that's trying to get their, their piece of the pie. You can literally expand nationwide with no toll gates, no toll booths. Beautiful. And it has an exit strategy.
It is true. And, you know, Jeff brought up a good point there. He mentions 36,000 franchises have closed during this coronavirus so far. Wow. And our brokerage, we were independent for quite a while. And then we did decide to buy into a franchise. And, you know, it cost us $25,000 per location for the franchise that we bought into. What it cost me to join EXP? Well, when I joined, it was $99. Now it's $149. You know, I wish I could have that $75,000 back that I spent on the franchise. And those franchises, guess who was making all the money? The franchisor, who were getting paid off of revenue, where we as brokers got paid off of profit, of which there was little to no profit, right?
Yep.
And, you know, so what advice would you give? What would you say would be the number one advice if you're talking to an independent broker? What would you tell them? What kind of conversation would you have with them?
It would vary so greatly depending on their business model. I mean, I was talking to somebody this morning, and they're trying to bring on a brokerage, but they're a flat fee brokerage where all their agents are flat fee and they're getting 100%, and the broker isn't profitable, but he doesn't want to do it anymore. He's burnt out, wants to walk away. But, you know, we're having that conversation about taking an unprofitable business with a bad business model and trying to move it on top of EXP. That's a little tougher. You take someone who's running more of a lead-based model or you know, at least a profitable office. That's an easier conversation. But I think profitability is a big one. I think we all have to realize that earned income, now money, is always going to sell and appeal to people more than future money. But like a good friend of mine, Kevin and Amy Smits here in Colorado, they have a team in Colorado. They live half the year with us here in Puerto Rico. But they, when he joined, he says, I don't see a way out. Like, this is a hamster wheel I can't get off of. What are we going to do with this? Do we just like stop? You know? So, well,
tragically, that's
the conversation.
We just had to close our doors one day. We walked in and said, we're done, you know, and several $100,000 in debt and a number of other things. And luckily, we've been able to, you know, with EXP, we've been able to dig our way out of that. But you know, so many people don't have a clue what their true numbers are, right? The first lesson that I had to learn when we looked at potentially selling our brokerage was we had to pull my personal production out of the equation. And as soon as you pulled my production out of the equation, right, it was all of a sudden like, oh, this isn't very profitable at all.
Well,
So
well, and I think when you realize that the EXP, and we talked about this earlier, the EXP growth is geometric, right? We use the exponential word a lot. That's better than any other traditional exit strategy where we would go out and buy rental properties, right? And we've all done it. I had hundreds of rental properties at a property management company, a construction company, a foundation repair company. I had, a lot of stuff going on in my world with the idea that that was going to be my retirement, right? But the truth of the matter is none of these rental properties ever went out and had babies every month.
true.
They never self-replicated, right?
Yeah.
But when we're empowering people to go out and build something for their future, for themselves, that's how we're able to get the geometric growth. We're empowering them with ownership and opportunity that they don't have anywhere else. I mean, you think about what revenue share is worth on an annualized basis for one person, and then figure out what your cash flow on a rental property that you're going to go and put 20% down on, what that is on a rental property, and then what risk and liability you have to take on. It's ridiculous.
So Jeff had a great question. He said, how do we get people that agree they should do this but are just so busy and a little afraid of change to make the move?
Here's what I'll say. It's better to be there than be good. I see a couple of my friends here in the audience, and we have these conversations a lot when we're talking about what do I say? How do I say it? What's the script? It's like when the gate's closed, the gate's closed. Just that doesn't mean you quit knocking. That doesn't mean you don't stay in a relationship and stay in communication. But you got to just be there when they're ready. When the gate's open, now we can have a deeper conversation. It's I think that's a challenge for all of us, is we want to have the right skills and the right confidence and the right script, and what do I say and how do I talk them into it? It's like no. When there's enough pain in their life that their gate is open, that they're looking for something different, they're open to something different. But it's really hard to crack that thing open. Gates lock from the inside to keep people out, right? So
That's great advice.
Yeah, I don't like going down that road so much. I mean, obviously there's a lot of logical conversations. If I knew the person personally, we could get into more of the emotional, like what drives them and what they're afraid of and what's not going well in their business. But because there's an emotional reason that they'll move, that ends up getting backed up by logic. But I think too many of us tend to, and myself included, tend to lead with the logic and all the reasons and the features and benefits and the value, and that's not necessarily what moves people. It's the emotion attached to whatever, solving whatever pain they have, So whether it's I don't see a way out and I'm burnout and I'm tired and I'm done, or it's I want to sell more houses, or I want to grow my team and make a name for myself and provide for my family. Whatever their reason is, we got to tap into that, because it's the tapping into that that's going to drive them emotionally.
I think that it's that's so valuable what you said, and I think it's a lot like selling real estate, right? Just like so. Think about when you speak to a seller, and a seller, starts thinking about moving long before they actually make the decision to move. And that decision to move is always emotional, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Think about it like internet leads. We buy internet leads. They have an 8 to 12 month cash conversion cycle before they're actually going to buy. We don't give up on them on day 2 or day 5 or day 7. We're just going to hang around and keep being in front of them with, property alerts and email drips and text drips and calls and, adding value in their life so we'll be there when it happens. I can't tell you how many people I've talked to, 3 months prior, 6 months prior, or even now a year prior, and they finally come back to me unsolicited and say, I'm ready.
I think that's the best advice I've heard so far is that I think for many of us, we think it's kind of one and done, right? Oh, well, we'll talk to them and they said no, so we move on. But we all know that, the average amount of times you have to call and talk to somebody can be 10 plus or more. And so to think that we can just, oh, I'm just going to shoot you a video, watch the video and let me know what you think, and then they're going to sign up is not necessarily reality, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So we got about 5 minutes left. What else do you think is important for everyone to understand about agent attraction and how to really build a dynamic organization?
I'll tell you how I prefer to lead and how I prefer to attract, and that is through coaching and just helping people with their business. Because if I look at most people, most of them, not everyone, but most of them are struggling with their earned income, their now money, their commissions, right? I want to make more money. I want to have more sales. And so whether I'm talking to a team about profitability or growth, whether I'm talking to an individual agent about how to get their next deal, or whether I'm talking to a brokerage about how to be more profitable now, the earned income, the now money, is the first thing I have to address, usually, before I can ever get into the leveraged or passive income conversation. Like, they don't really care about the promise of the future until they take care of today, right? And I think when the building's on fire, they don't want to have a conversation about what the time is, and they want to put out their fire. We just have to identify what their fire is and help them put that out, and then give them some, future pace them so you can help them imagine what it will be like when they have 10 closings a month or profitability that they hope for, and then the stock and the revenue share is just a plus to that. For some people, it's the driver. For the leaders like us, it's why we're here. If we expect to recruit the masses and have hundreds of thousands and then eventually millions of agents in EXP, which I believe we will soon, we have to be able to speak the language of the average agent as well and help them solve their immediate now problems, now money. And I think that's it. The only other thing I would say is a lot of times it's your IQ score. And I don't mean your IQ like intelligence quotient. I mean, it's your I quit score. Too often.
I love that. I've never heard that before.
Yeah. Wow. Too often it's the I quit. They give up on their dream. They give up on the chance of something too soon. They're that 3 feet from gold and they give up. And the people who win at this and in life and in every business I've ever seen are the people who just don't give up. They can't be beat. They just don't give up. And they keep showing up and they keep getting better and they keep making distinctions and learning and growing. And eventually they get the result. So
that is the best thing I've heard. I've actually never heard that. And I think I've read just about every leadership book out there. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've never heard that before. The IQ score. So the lower the score, yeah. Can you repeat that, please? That's what Sam asked.
Yeah, sure. It's the I quit score. I mean, we all have personal examples of people we know or ourselves in our life that, it's the IQ score, the I quit score. How high is your score? Like how much do you have to be able to take before you quit? How many no's will you listen to before you quit? Right? And if you have a low or medium score, I mean, you're just not going to get out of the gates. But even some of us who have a really high score and keep after it, sometimes we get discouraged, we get down, we let things get in our way, and we can't get past that failure or that the repeated rejection. It's kind of like the new agent who comes into your office and you just stick him on the phone and he just is getting told no every single day. How many days are you going to keep doing that before he quits?
Yeah, I love that. My son is in the process of getting his real estate license, and we had that conversation. I'm like, look, you're going to get way more no's than you're going to get yeses. So you know, how confident are you that you can just keep going? And I'm gonna steal your IQ score. I'm gonna use that. I love that. I love that.
Steal away. Enjoy.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mike. We're right at
My
noon
pleasure.
straight up, so we'll wrap it up. And thank you all for joining us. I wish you continued success. You're doing extraordinarily well, which is not surprising at all. And I look forward to meeting you at a live event soon. I told Brent, I said, get that guest room ready in Puerto Rico because I'm going to come stay.
Absolutely. Well, come hang out. You'll love it.
I will. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, everybody who joined us today.
Thanks, everybody.
We hope you all get out there and build your own extraordinary organizations. Keep your IQ scores very high.